We're good. We're not officially.
Well, yeah. All right. Give me, oh shit, a quick minute. Or, well, four, because I'm gonna heat up the water for 4 minutes. All right, let's start for now.
You're watching Near No Universe, where wonders take flight.
I'm AJ, we're Liz, whatever.
This is Weirdo Universe. You probably wonder why I just blasted some fantasy music. In case if people did or didn't see our last one, I realized when we uploaded there was some issue. So if not, if you didn't see it, this is a fresh new video, and we're getting right into it. And without further ado, we're talking about it. Not that one. We're talking about it.
Yeah, we're getting into it.
We're getting into
Uh,
it. We'll try to crunch this as best as possible because it is a bit for such a fan
Believe it or not, we
series.
were just talking about this. That even though, okay, are you gonna sneeze or can I talk? Thank you. Weird. Um, we were literally just talking about this. The fact that even though it's such in a sense, a short series, there is so much to unpack. So bear with us, and well,
So let me just
um,
give you the quick just summary of the series. So pretty much, this is a magical land of Exadia, and the magic comes from these six primal stones. Just think of like Avatar: The Airbender, the whole sky, earth, ocean, kind of like that whole elemental thing. So when human mages created created a there was six, and the human mages created seven. That's the dark magic, and that started. It started just being evil. Just started to capture and harvesting all the unique magical creatures they need as ingredients, and that's what sparked the war between the elves, the dragons, all the fantasy creatures against humans. So it became out this like whole war between Xadia and all the human kingdoms that when they lived upon together. And these three kids, Rayla, Callum, and Ezrin,
I was just gonna say you need help.
um, they're opposite sides of the conflict, but then there's a time which we'll explain. So when the war happened, there's 11 assassins. Rayla is one of the characters included. They were sent to eliminate the king because we'll break it down as well that he killed the king of the dragons, pretty much the king of Exadia, and so it changes everything. They decided to join forces and they do this epic journey, and it splits into millions of parts. And the hope is that they could only hope that the ending of the war can hopefully resolve peace. So that's pretty much the sum up with a little of my own words. So yeah, let's get to it. So yeah, how should we start this? Let's start with that. How do you want to break this down?
Well, I mean, you literally just kind of basically explained the entirety of season one, just on spot. So I mean, I guess we could kind of break down season two a little bit.
Well, I mean, yeah, we could, or you want to like at least we can give some funny parts because, for example, so in that whole season one, this is how because it does start with like Callum and Ezrin.
Catherine.
So actually, I don't know if it's really true, but Callum is part of Ezrin's family, and Callum,
Yes, Callum was well. He is more of Ezrin's stepbrother
yeah, stepbrother.
instead of adopted, because Callum's mother and Ezrin's father had gotten married, so they were. That's how that's happened.
Okay,
I worded that horribly. I'm sorry. I'm still waking up, so
I'm
that's
still
why I'm making cocoa.
But anyway, so during like as like part of the summary of just at least the start of this journey, Rayla, being one of the 11 assassins that was trained,
I think there's only five that went.
yeah, five went, but there was a group. I guess there was more, but it was sent by five assassins. Rayla, one of them, and because for her, as you'll see in the series, she, she she's trained as an assassin, but she just has the urge of like don't when she gets to her opponent, when she gets to her target, she doesn't confirm it. She doesn't like kill. And so, like in the beginning, that's how it kind of sort of began. Like there's a guard on watch, that's exploring like patrolling the terrain, and just sees this shadow figure. And there's this like little chase, and the guard slipped, and when this person comes, as we knew about Rayla, she got the blades like kind of like Ventress and the Clone Wars sort of thing, got the right in the neck, and
Oh, speaking of which, can we also talk about Rayla's butterfly blades?
yeah, she had
Those are awesome. I
she had
mean,
these like
they
massive
unfold
blades.
into like swords. They unfold into like hatchets or something. I mean, that is probably the coolest weapon I've seen in the series.
But when she got to the guy, it's like it's like it's because being an assassin, you have to like can't hesitate. You can't like because you got to really prepare when you just stare someone death in the eyes, to go for the kill. But she doesn't, and he lets him escape, and then she uses like some berries to make it look like she killed someone, but she didn't. And later on, that's get caught up. But as it goes on, so her like teacher, I don't know the name top of my head right now.
I
But
wanted to say Avari, but I think that was the other one.
so her teacher is just like she wants to try to be involved. But he kind of sees this. She he notices, so she tries to prove herself and actually literally at some point alone go up there in the middle of the night or midday and just like achieve something just to prove her worth. And this is where the characters kind of start to meet for Rayla's, I guess, perspective. So,
I will say this with how they built everything up, they did it so well and so smoothly that I mean, like they literally left almost like no loose ends whatsoever. Like I mean, no unanswered questions. Like I mean, they built everything up and tied everything in literally like a present on Christmas with a bow. I mean, it was so beautifully done.
so when Rayla met Claudia, no, Rayla met Callum. It's just fun. I thought like Callum and Claudia had some relation because it almost like it feels like if you name your son Callum, you might as well name the sister, Claudia. And it has like a ring to it, so that's why I said that. Anyway, um,
That was an odd relationship they had, though.
yeah, like in that time, and like it's just like that's what's kind of great about the game because it kind of teaches you a little bit of like because the world can give you Claudia, but it's like the true, I guess, like the true partner is Rayla in this case, and you see that as it grows.
Yeah, I remember how Amon here told me that there was going to be a whole love interest thing between um, Rayla and Callum towards the end of the series. That was, I will say, that was quite the amazing deception. I mean, you literally had me going up to like season three, I think it was,
Mm-hmm.
when they finally like kind of closed it.
Yeah,
Where,
actually like closed. I wasn't sure what season it was. It was pretty early.
but I mean, no, I was just I got to that moment and I was like, wait a minute, is this happening now? I mean, I was so shocked because I didn't think I kind of half expected it to be like in like season six or even five at
Mm-hmm.
the best.
Figured, yeah.
But I mean, that early on, I was really shocked about that. I think they technically got it into like season one though.
Well, that's what you just feel like because that's what I was about to lead up to. Like when Rayla met, uh, when Rayla met Callum, it's just like I just knew it felt like why do I feel like they've already built these characters to its max, even though we're just getting started? Because you already have this sort of sense where it's like this is probably where the relationship starts to grow. Because as I
Yeah.
was breaking down the whole summary, is like those two and the younger stepbrother Ezrin, which will break down his character, like the
Oh,
growth.
that was a funny
Um,
a real
yeah,
funny moment
it was
actually.
so funny, and of course, like the most this this little pet creature is probably the one of the best characters because it's just he's there. He's
If
like
you're referring to Bait, I love Bait. I mean, Bait is amazing. He is probably the most funniest out of the group.
but yeah, you kind of like think of like if you put it all together, it's kind of like Dungeons and Dragons. And you're mage and you're
Oh
assassin,
yeah.
and you need your little like leader in a way. Or but anyway, so as I was breaking down, that's like all of them met, and then they began this journey. They found the egg. They thought it was destroyed. That was that's what everyone believed, but then realizing it was actually captured. And we'll break it down more how that developed. But yeah, let's get to season two. I just wanted to really just do a quick thing on that. So I'll land off to AJ here about season two.
All right. Well, I believe the final battle with Lord Viren was at the end of season one, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. So, if I'm not mistaken, at the beginning of season two, they started off with a 2 year time gap. This was also a very interesting way that they did this with the series. Is that
Yeah.
they?
Oh, make sure to just introduce other characters as we go on.
Oh, I plan to. I gotta try and remember some of their names because I don't remember exactly when some of them come into
Oh,
play. But
well, actually, sorry we're a little sloppy on this, but here are the characters. So we have Callum, Ezrin, Rayla, as you see there. Then, then got Lord Viren, who's like a human dark mage. Claudia, who's the daughter. And then you got
You
Soren.
also have Soren,
Soren
who's the sun.
is the sun. Then you got Erebos, Janai, which is like also an elf, sunlight elf.
I think specifically she was a Sunfire elf, I
Yeah,
believe they called it.
Sunfire.
I I could be possibly a little wrong on that.
Then you got Prince Kareem, who's the brother.
Yep,
I
that little backstabbing bastard.
Yeah, we'll get to this character. Zubayla, the Zubaya, she's a dragon queen. She's the queen of the dragons. And as we'll learn about the egg of who the who that character is. But yeah, just a little sum of the characters to break it down. And then you have Erebos, who's the enemy, but I feel like May will break that down a bit more. But let's continue on.
Erebos is definitely going to be a. If we don't have time, I'll probably post a little bit about him after the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Because with Erebos, there is quite the history to go through. So I may post about him afterwards. Um, yeah, okay. So at the end of season one, it ends off with, in a way, a cliffhanger. Um, it picks up right where it left, right where it leaves off, in a sense. Um, in season two at the beginning, with Claudia and Lord Viren. Um, well, let's just say Rayla actually saved the dragon egg, which was hatched about midway through season one. And the Dragon Prince, which is also literally the title of the show, their name is, I believe, Osmodius, but they call him Zim for short. Um, Lord Viren was in the middle of trying to steal Zim's powers, or I guess in a sense his essence, in a way.
Mm-hmm.
And Rayla, before the 2 year time gap, uh, well, she tackled Lord Viren off the literal tip top of what was it called? The storm spiral?
Yes, the Storm Spire, which is pretty
Yeah,
much
that
that
was
was
it.
like the throne of Zadia in a way.
Um, it was also the home to um, the king of the Dragon King and the Dragon Queen, along with Zim. Um, however, Rayla survives the fall through Callum actually learning how to do a specific, I think it was a specific Sky Arcanum spell. And this allowed him to actually literally change his arms into wings and then save Rayla from her absolute certain doom of death. Um, Lord Viren, because I'm bringing his name up so much into this, um, actually dies. But the 2 year time gap was spent with Claudia. I think she had mentioned that she was gathering ingredients for a certain spell
Yeah. So like
to
yeah,
bring him back
or at least
from the dead.
temporarily.
Yeah, temporarily. Which I gotta say, this was probably the moment, or some of the moment, where you really get to kind of, in a way, start disliking Claudia's character because of the fact that you see how much she is changing from the kind of like innocent and, in a sense, I guess hopeful character she originally was. And the downside is because she believes in what her father used to say, which was basically, no matter what happens, I'd protect my family, even through the darkest decisions and the most vile. And this was because the dark magic that they were using was also corrupting them from the inside, which also, I believe, gives Erebos a sense of control over them a little bit.
Hmm.
At least to kind of like, how can I say this? Um, Whisper into their ear
Or
and kind of
manipulating,
manipulate them.
deceiving, whatnot.
Um, However, Claudia does succeed in this spell. So, and like Amana was mentioning, it is a temporary spell. No, it's not like a one of those where it's like, oh, well, you're resurrected for an entire like whole day. No, this specific spell lasts for 30 days. And what they needed to do was gather some more ingredients to make it permanent, which they end up doing in the next like few seasons, basically.
Hmm.
Um, at For the most part, it's really just them trying to kind of break Erebos free from his prison and finding the location of where it is and what it is in order to do that. Now, because we're also mentioning Erebos so much and so kind of early, here's a little backstory. I'm not going into the full blown
Yeah,
origins or anything, but Erebos is a Star Touch elf, and in a sense, they are like the most powerful elves.
like you could say, like they're kind of like the first elf species known
In
to
a sense, yeah.
innocence.
So, um, again, he is pretty much like Lucifer in a sense, which I thought that was a really interesting reference for the character as a whole because, I mean, they made it seem such like an apocalyptic type event if he was released,
Hmm.
and it almost made sense to have it that way because of how what we know about Lucifer's origins, and then what we get with kind of like Erebos's origins, literally in like the last season, basically. You get that really interesting dynamic between the two, where it's like, oh, well, okay. I mean, I know you did some pretty fucked up things, but now I kind of feel bad for you because it's like what happened with Erebos. I mean, essentially, he was robbed of having his own family,
Yeah, pretty much.
and that was something I found really interesting about learning the character, was the fact that that was his main reason of being this so-called evil incarnate type of person. But in reality, if you really pay attention to Erebos' character, he really does not exactly lie to an extent. And I say this because there's a difference between lying and telling half a truth. Because I mean, you're still at that point telling the truth, but you're leaving out certain details from letting it all spill out. You know? And I'm not saying don't do that, or I mean do it, because I mean, regardless, that is still in a sense lying to an extent. But I mean, like Erebos, he tells this specific Earthblood elf, Terrestrius, or as they call him, Terry, who is also Claudia's boyfriend at the beginning of season two, that they bring him in and it's like, hey, um, Dad, I'd like you to meet somebody. So it's really interesting to get Erebos in this moment because of the fact that he's now not only trying to manipulate Lord Viren, but he's now also manipulating Claudia because I think Erebos knew that Viren was going away from dark magic use, and so then he needed a new person to kind of take his place, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, am I missing anything?
I mean, you pretty much summed it up well put. I guess the little other parts were that led up to what led up to this little like war is uh Lord Viren. So he gets to know this who now knows Erebos. He has his mirror and he used every dark magic possibility, but the way it was designed is kind of like it deflects that. It's not something you can really like open unless something from the inside looks looks within pretty much. So he gets to see this character. Just it's like the so the mirror opens up and it's like you just see this like lovely like got the fire chair just like all glassy, and you just see this one mysterious character with a hood just like had like a bookshelf just looking at things, and he's like sometimes he like looks, and I don't know if he either pretended he didn't see anything or he was just like minding his own business. So that was pretty funny. But
I
as
think he genuinely didn't know what was happening until the moment he really looked,
yeah,
and it was just like, interesting.
so yeah,
Okay.
that as Lord Viren kept looking and looking, then this where it came to the point where he revealed himself. But he couldn't. He It's not like when you like AJ and I. It's not like if we had a mirror or a window when he talked. There's no
I
vibration
also genuinely thought the mirror itself was the prison
in a
for
way.
like the longest sense.
It, yeah, and it's whatever we'll break it. We'll get to real quick on that. But so in a way, there's like had like an insect, and it was the only way they can communicate. And so they like she started learning all this stuff, and as it just kept going and going, they just kind of started having this like evil brotherhood bond in a way, and that's then Erebus tells him all the secrets because he's like the first of the elves, pretty much, and he kind of starts this army, this like rebellious army of trying to take over Xadia. That's for like Erebus' sake, because what they did, well, I guess the people of his time did to him, so he's just like revolting in a sort of way. But that's pretty much yeah. But AJ broke it down the other half really well. So
Also, I want to go back into something with at least one moment in season one, I believe.
Hmm.
because this is also a really important moment. And remember this name for later, because we will get back into it. Um, there's a moment between Rayla and Callum specifically that
Hmm.
are looking up to the stars,
Oh yeah.
and Callum is like they're having a discussion about how they're I think they said star systems or shit. It's an astrology term. I'm still kind of waking up on it, so my memory is a little vague on it. Um, but constellations, that's what it was.
Oh yeah.
Um, how their, I guess, cultural references are different between the constellations. So there's a certain star, the brightest star, I believe, is what Callum calls, or at least for the humans, they call it the South Star, which I thought was kind of confusing because I always thought that when somebody says the brightest star in the sky is the North Star, but I mean, it's a series, so they change things a little bit to kind of add into the humor. But this is what interests me the most is what Rayla responds with. And Rayla's response is that for the Moon Shadow Elves, they don't call it the South Star. They call it Leola's last wish. And I'm saying this
Hmm.
to remember this name because Leola is a very important character within the series, basically from the shadows. And it's really a really interesting moment to figure out and kind of piece together, especially because they mentioned the name so early in the series and with such an like calm moment. So that's why I was just like, okay, I want to go back into season one a little bit and into a certain moment because that moment is also a really important moment, and it's the first kind of domino effect, or at least one of the first domino effects of Erebos.
There was also something in that part, not with Rail, but with Callum, and Callum was starting to learn, trying to grow his mage abilities. And
I
I
think
don't.
that was like after they had destroyed the um storm or the sky arcanum
Hmm.
stone to help Zim hatch out of the egg.
Yeah.
Um, but what was interesting about that was the fact that after that moment, you also do get to see Callum start learning genuine magic. And for centuries, this isn't really heard of with humans anymore because they've usually started using magic as a, I guess, a substitute. So Callum is one of the first humans in centuries to genuinely learn and use the natural arcanum that surrounds the world through Zadia and the human kingdoms.
Yeah. So like.
And I always jokingly called him Billy because
Hmm.
if you kind of look at his like design and his color theme, it almost matches Billy Maximoff's. So I mean, I thought it was kind of funny because he had the little like red scarf
Yeah.
that Billy has in the comics and whatnot. And I was like, somebody had to have been a huge Marvel fan because there's no way you're making a mage and then having another entire fandom character resemble each other in such ironic ways, and I love it. That's my little off-topic moment, though. But going back on track, um, yeah, no, remember the name like Leola because that is a very important character for later. Um, is there anything else you want to add, Amon?
Um, sorry, I was trying to quick research. No, I think we're pretty. I think that was good.
Okay,
There's nothing to add. I've like so for me, I saw it like a while back. AJ's more the fresh minded, so I'm
a
just going to
little bit.
throw in the pieces. So yeah, actually, season three. I realized that I think AJ broke down what might have been season three because I think season two was that like because what's great about this series. Just a quick side note. What's great about this series, the main plot grows and there's a lot of side little things. You can get a little background all in all. So
Yeah, and like I mentioned before with that I mean they tie it all in very well.
season three. So the crew, the egg gets hatched. You get this little cute baby lightning dragon, and he starts to grow into like a 14-year-old boy, pretty much. Still,
Basically.
pretty much. He starts as he grows, but when they got so we get to know Zubea. So in Rundle, they flashback in like four or five, I think. But I was going to maybe just share this note. So long ago, Ezrin's dad, who was the king, and Viren, who was his hierarchy, his like assistant in a way.
Yeah, I think that was episode 5
Of what season?
of season 3,
Okay, so yeah,
I believe.
they were in famine and they were they tried to resolve something, and then Viren had this broad idea to go to Xadia, take this heart of a rock giant in it. With his magic, he can like heal the land. So
The moment I noticed that they got there and found the giant kind of laying on the ground, thinking it was dead, I I couldn't help but laugh because when is anything that easy?
uh, so Viren, the Ezrin's dad, who was the king, the queen, uh, Callum's
Callum's mother,
mom, and there was
and
two
let's not
other.
forget to add um, Aunt Maya
Yeah, Aunt Maya,
because that she was also there in that moment.
yeah, Aunt Maya, and then two other characters that were queens of their own land that was having issues with famine, and later on,
Ah,
their
I don't remember their names.
daughter becomes young queen. But anyway,
Yes, Queen Anya.
they they set the exhibition with soldiers. They head over and they took on this rock giant. Lives were lost, but it took a little bit of power to beat this thing. And they got it down, and they extract his heart, and it's just it's like a massive boulder, pretty much. And as they were extracting it, and this is the time where the King of Dragons was around, and he was patrolling. And so as they were trying to get to the border, he pops up, and he's a lightning dragon. And so they're trying to escape. People, many escaped, but Callum's mom, the queen, Viren, and the king, they kind of like stood their ground, but they were trying to escape. And Aunt Maya, those four, as trying to escape, they're gonna at least try to stall as much. And unfortunately, Viren's horse gets killed. and or no, the queen's horse gets killed. Viren comes to the save, but as the dragon comes around for a second strike, it pretty much killed the queen. To sum it up, and
Yeah.
as time advances, they got the thing, healed the land, all the problems solved, but now it's like another issue. How to deal with grief. So they did the ceremony, which is in the series. If you watch it, there's a statue of a war, like a queen on a horse, and that's, well, at least we don't know where actually a resting
What
is, but at least that's
what I found really interesting about the statue itself is that it's the same pose that she does when she goes back to save Viren. Because she's on the horse
yeah, yeah. So she's
and she
here.
holds out her hand to get him to help him up and onto the horse. And I thought that was such an interesting, I guess, I don't want to say momentum, but I guess an ideal of making the statue in that way.
Hmm.
Because, I mean, at first I was kind of confused on why, but I mean, I can also kind of see the gesture was a little bit like, in a sense, I guess, peaceful.
Yeah. So,
So, yeah.
mhm. So to how to deal with grief, Viren, I don't know. I don't know. He just said he was young, but he kind of gets a little pushy on the king to be like, hey, you know, we can or like not say like we can kill him, but it's like I have an idea if you want to take pretty much revenge. And the king, he's trying to like take the grief as a more nicer approach, just trying to move on, just to keep the kingdom as is, trying not to do something so rash as they just did again and lost a lot of lives and losing the queen. So, but he had this idea once again, he kind of knew where he was at, but in order to kill a beast this size, you have to do a little dark magic. So he had this. There was this with his wand. I'm saying wand, but I forgot what the actual thing. The scepter. I would say a scepter.
Staff.
Staff. Um, that and of course, this is fancy, so unicorns, so unicorn horn, and with a little dark magic, kind of built a like a staff to kill the dragon. So they did it. They went.
Well, they
Well,
kind of made the spear that they used
it's
into, well, a more dangerous dark
magic,
magic
poison,
stat
dark magic
spear. Yeah.
here. So they go over, and as they got to the spire, I mean, this is where it's like fathers talking to each other because I think, yeah, the king dropped a line because as they get to the spire and the dragon pops up, but you can see he's not being so aggressive because there's about to be like a family moment that's happening, and he's trying to give him like, hey, not a good time. I can let you get it. You can be free, and it's
He
just like,
even tells them, usually I'd like annihilate you, but today is a very important day of life.
and as the king, as Sim being the king, he knows what's happening, but I don't know. He said a line to him.
Oh, you talking about King Haros?
Yeah,
I think
King
was his name.
Harold or Haros.
Um,
That's a line to the dragon about because
oh
it's like
fuck.
his since he just lost his
I
wife.
think it was. I want to say the line was sort of similar to this. I think it was like, you didn't give her. a chance
Yeah, something
or
like
something
that.
like that.
It was in those words.
And it was the coldest thing I've heard from that person because you get to when you first get to know him, he is the sweetest, like kindest person
But
for the most part.
then you realizing what the darker picture is why he's kind of acting like this because he did something that he knows that he would pretty much cost his life. Um,
Basically,
basically. Well, we'll break down. So he does die, but the way they show it seems very mysterious. Anyway, so
I realize how they did that too.
they face the drag. They face the dragon, and Viren with his magical weapon throws it, stabs the dragon in the heart. But it didn't kill him. It just turned. Well, it killed him. The magic,
Well, it killed him, and then it turned him into stone.
but it made it iconic because as he tried to, not whimpers, but as he slowly tries to crawl, realizing what this thing is doing to him, and this is like the statue that sits, this stone figure, just he died,
That
but
I
it just
gotta say is the most tragic sight to see.
so he turned to stone and pretty much he died. But they realized so it's done. Like he's like, all right, I did my revenge. I'm heading back. And of course, Viren, being so curious as he is, realizing, wait, Betty's having this other rash idea. Let's go up there because if you realize if it is the egg,
Well, the king got injured,
oh yeah, yeah,
and that was the reason why he kind of like stayed back, and that's why Viren kind of went ahead. But Viren convinced the king that if they allowed the egg to hatch and live, then they'll come back when they grow up for revenge for killing their father,
yeah.
the Dragon King.
Well, now if you think of it, it didn't really matter, did that or not.
No.
So
Not even a little bit.
it gets really interesting. This is where he like gets some details about Rayla, which she never knew about herself.
Yep.
So when he gets up there, he sees the queen. So the egg is birthed, and there's two elves that are like protectors, and that end up
The
being
Dragon Guard is what they called
dragon
them.
guards, and that end up being Rayla's parents. Surprise!
Now, before we actually dive into that, let's go back into season one for a quick moment because Rayla tells Callum specifically that she hated her parents because of the fact that they abandoned their post protecting the egg. But this is also the reason why Amon had just mentioned that wasn't the case, is
Or it
because
didn't really
we're
matter.
about to reveal, yeah, because we're about to reveal the actual truth of what happened. Also, thanks to Callum and learning fucking magic, because yes, go
So
on.
yeah, so he gets up there, and they do a pretty good fight scene. You're like, oh, mage, because you think mages they're good for distances. Now he's trying to do close combat, and all his weapon is what he carries. It gets it almost like they did their job until a certain moment got a little I don't know, a little too aggressive, or like not aggressive, but like got a little too.
Well,
I
I think they would have won if Viren hadn't tried taking the Rayla's father's breath away,
Yeah,
literally. That's not metaphor.
yeah, literally.
He was literally taking his breath, and that caught the attention to the mother, and so she tried jumping over him, over the father, to attack Viren, but he ended up responding to that with encasing them in ice, basically, like to keep them in place. Um, both were still very alive, and Viren had then returned the husband's breath back and literally was inches away, or no, right there, and seconds away of possibly destroying the egg.
Yeah.
But the mother had an interesting plan where it was in order to keep the egg alive, she had convinced Viren that he should just take it because with all the power that he fears that it will have, he can basically use it to his advantage in protecting whoever. And because this is also literally the source, the prime source of Viren's, I guess you could say, magical greed in a sense, um, which we'll kind of dive into a little bit later. But he agrees. So he takes the egg, but Rayla's parents meet, I'd say, a fate worse than death because instead of just killing them, or yeah, instead of just killing them, he traps their souls into two magical coins. Cursed coins, to be exact.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
And he took the egg, and then
Yep.
the war broke out pretty much when they found
Yep.
out. So yeah, that's like a little back. Well, they pretty much sum that between like episode 5 and like I think and then one whole episode. So
I think they kind of,
or two-parter.
they might have did it in two parts. I think it was like episode 4, like it starts off there and then episode 5. Because they had literally just introduced Queen Anya,
Hmm.
which was the daughter to the two queens that died helping um, the kingdom of Katalis to retrieve or to fight the, I guess you could kind of say the lava titan. Yeah. And before I continue, I gotta say I love Queen Anya because she called out Viren on his shit,
Oh yeah.
dude.
And the reason,
I mean, this dude is just like he says. See, this is the reason why we need an adult with a crown, or a crown with an adult. And her response was so calm, and yet it was so it burned. Okay, I mean, she literally goes, "I may be a crown without an adult, but you are an adult without a crown." And I couldn't help but laugh my ass off at that line because Viren was trying so hard
I give him
to
props.
become king
Like
at that point of
I mean,
Katalis.
I mean, for Viren, like I give him a little props just because like he's trying to solve a solution and he knows it's like the more political way of doing it. So he tries this
Yeah,
whole approach, and yeah, he's not the king, but I mean, he tells the whole beat. So what I described, he actually kind of tell not about the egg thing, but of the giant, like what happened, and she understood. But
well, it was also the egg thing in a sense,
yeah.
kind of.
So
But
anyway,
yeah,
so these three, as so their journey's like starting to, they got to this fire, and so when Zubea, the queen, she when she realized the egg was stolen, she was pretty much mourning, and that like she was feeling ill, and she was just in a sleep position for so many years, not realizing now that her son has appeared, was born, and
Or well, was alive
was
even.
alive.
Because let's not forget, she knew her mate was dead,
Hmm.
and then she believed for years that her only child was also dead. So I mean, she basically went into like, in a sense, is like a very deep slumber between. I kind of want to say like she kind of put herself into like a coma in a sense. Because I mean, she was alive, but she also kind of was. She wasn't really there either. So I mean, I think she basically kind of put herself into a coma somehow.
So
I
their
don't know.
well, not fantasy, but as they believe, they thought if we bring the egg back to the day that this fire and tell them, like, look, you lived. Now all we were told was a lie. Theoretically, that didn't work because of the commotion that uh, with Erebos back in a way, and Viren, and it's just like this whole civil war breaking out once again, or he's making the offensive attack. But
Yeah.
anyway, she as Rebecca does wake up, she then tells a story about Erebos and about these dragons that held the key to his actual prison to know where you actually can get to, and where you actually can at least know where he's really trapped in. The mirror is just a way to look into the prison, but not the actual entrance and exit. That's a different
What
thing.
I thought was interesting was that they literally name an episode where they first bring in the mirror, and they call it the Looking Glass or whatever.
Yeah.
And they even call it that within the show. They literally like call the mirror the Looking Glass because
So
that's
Zubea
how they kind of keep an eye on Erebos.
So Zubea tells the story of an elf named Erebos and what he was, and so he was. So for him, he was kind of like Viren in a way for Ezrin's dad. He was like that was
Yeah.
his like position.
No, not his dad. His ancestor,
Okay,
which I realized they never really gave that character a name exactly. I don't think.
so she breaks it down of just like who he was and like how he in the midst in the behind the scenes I don't know, the only know he can convince very easily are mages. That's the only way he can really whisper something and he can invoke chaos.
Well, specifically mages who dove into dark magic,
Specific,
specifically.
yeah. And then when they found out each of the so Zubea is the queen, like the dragon of the sky. Then you got earth and water, and then I think there's like two more.
And then I think the Sun Dragon, which was um,
It was like the grumpy one.
and blind, because I think Erebos had blinded him, or no,
No, Eris is blind.
Dark Mage had blinded him.
Yeah. So
Um,
they and then one like character that we discovered later on that Ezrin is a like a picture like a picturesque of that person that once did it beforehand. And AJ will break it down, just uploading as we're losing a bit of time here, but AJ will break down these seasons and just certain moments in the series. But
okay.
Unless we want,
Well, I mean, I guess I could kind of, instead of trying to finish breaking down the last few seasons, we could go into a bit more of the um, some of the more general aspects.
okay,
Um,
we can do that. Sorry, I I I just look at
this also kind of helps because then I could just kind of tell the origins of Erebos
so yeah.
better.
So yeah, well, so we broke it down at least to those parts, as you know, and even AJ just started. Like, it's a lot. It's like it's funny enough. Seven seasons, not only 9 episodes, but each episode
Oh,
30 minutes.
speaking of which, before I actually get into the little dive in with some of the other in-universe lore, I did some research last night.
Okay.
Um, I found out that the Dragon Prince, the show itself has ended,
Hmm.
but they're planning to make a kind of sequel spin-off called The Dragon King.
I did hear.
Now, this is going to be kind of like the third act, they said, of this. Um, I thought this was interesting because this dives into a whole potentially new story with some of the original characters coming back, obviously, but now older. And because I'm assuming they're calling it the Dragon King, this also means Zim is now literally the Dragon King and not the Dragon Prince, which is
That-
going to be very interesting to see because holy shit.
actually,
um,
well, man, we could break down season by season, but I don't want to hold anyone that will watch this. I don't want to hold you guys up, but make sure to watch this.
well, that's what I'm saying. I instead of kind of diving into too much of the season details,
Yeah.
we could just kind of dive
So,
into the more like specifically
so here's
important
one.
ones.
So here's the one that gets a little confusing, and that is King Harold's death.
I fucking knew that's where you were going there.
Let's just start there
I
because
knew that's where you were
where
going.
it gets very confusing. So, just a quick summary. So, like, as the assassins make their approach, and they make this bond where it's like if they don't succeed, it's there for life, pretty much.
And well, not really there for life, but it will tighten to the point it will cut their hands off, basically.
So I don't know. So Callum pretty much. So Callum was going to go run to the king to ask him a question or like emergency, you know. Then all he sees is Viren because Viren was so before that Viren and the king they're having a dispute that the king just like hated Viren because of his like gutsy calls and decisions that he's just like he's done with it and he literally tried to demote him. And then as this when the assassins are about to come and complete their mission, and Viren comes out. It gets really weird. Viren comes out, and then we don't see anything. We like you think, oh, did he curse coin? Did he turn him into something like?
Well, no, the idea that Viren was giving Eros was that there was this two-headed snake that if it would bite you and potentially something else, it would switch the souls out of the original body
Mm-hmm.
and into the other one.
And because actually in that scene, you know, so like the king had this like rooster, but some bird, you know, it looked like a rooster, but like this like hawk, like this like owl.
I don't remember what they called it, but it was a bird at least.
A bird, like a bird, and you kind of think you're tying it up. So then when Viren walks out and hear Callum screaming for the king, and that's when
Well, okay, I'm gonna let you finish because I want to add on to this because with my reaction at least for it,
it's
it
very.
really
And then the assassins came, and there isn't like a, but then it's like you assume it's like, wait, did Viren just in a way kill the king, or did the assassins did? Because later on, Ezran, being a boy, he assumed knowing about the assassins, they killed him. So he's like
He's still a very young person, by the
still a
way.
young person, but like when he discovered about the death, he's assuming it's all tied up to the assassins. But then if you watch it, it shows like, wait, did Viren? Because I get it, because he was about to demote him. So of course, with aggression, Viren with his dark magic did something. So the
Oh,
assassin tells Ezran when he got there. The only detail we got, which what maybe is the truth, is that perhaps did Viren switched with the bird, or like human to bird, and maybe like I don't know. It's like it's very complicated. So in a way, yes, he died, but not maybe in
okay.
a deliberate sense of assassination.
Do me a quick favor. Look up who the Moon Shadow Elf that Rayla um saves out of the in between. Because I don't remember his name, and I need it for this
That
specific
that
breakdown.
Rayla and
I
Callum saved.
huh?
Wait, you said Rayla and Callum saved? Oh, Renan.
Yeah, Renan. Okay, so Renan is the Moon Shadow Elf that delivered the killing blow to the king, or so we all thought.
Mm-hmm.
However,
I've been wanting to know this answer honestly, because I've been trying to like.
um,
This is like the one.
yeah, I wanted to text you last night about my reaction, but because I noticed that it was already almost like 3 in the morning. I was like, I'm gonna wait. I'm just gonna wait, and then I'll tell my reaction on the stream. So I'm doing it now. After the breakdown a little bit, but basically what happens is Renan he delivers the killing blow. He shoots the king with an arrow, and he does die. But Renan gives a very interesting detail. And this recollects my memory a bit to season one in that moment. Now, in season one, after I think the king's death, you do see the specific bird we're talking about fly off, and it leaves the kingdom of Katalis. Now, if you're kind of piecing this together a moment,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, because this is literally what happened with me, was that as soon as I realized it, it blew my fucking mind. Renan explains that in the moment the king had turned around as he shot the arrow, the king didn't say a word or words. He squawked. Yes, he squawked. And so, in thinking that the king died and it was just a random noise or something, they just assumed, okay, well, our mission's done. So,
Well, like in that, like he was about to get captured, and he shoots an arrow just to know, like, oh, it's done, or
to
like,
notify that the mission was complete and the king was dead.
mm-hmm.
But that's not what happened. So now, the way that they ended off the series is that they are now, I don't want to say hunting, but are searching for this bird because it is believed that the king, King Heros, is in his soul is in the bird.
So I guess now Viren did a good deed.
That's literally what I thought was the fact that he actually. So what he did, even though it may have been a little malice and maybe a little like out of anger because his idea was kind of denied so many times, he was just like, you know what, fuck it, I'm gonna do it anyways because this is the literal king's life on the line, right?
Mhm.
And back in those times, specifically, everybody was protective of the king. So whatever they could, they would do that in order to save the throne or the crown, as they technically call it. But this is literally the last good thing that comes of Viren. Now, I say last because the only other time he really sacrificed anything, in a sense, for the kingdom of Katalis is during the um, destruction of Katalis, and literally does a spell through dark magic one last time to protect the people from the flames that was being cast down and obliterating the kingdom by a dragon.
And actually, I want to. And here's what. Okay, now here's so that's our thing. Now here's how Prince Kareem is might be the most. He's not. He doesn't think. He doesn't
Mm.
think straight. Because here's what gets interesting. So it doesn't get
I
things.
liked him at first.
Yeah, at first, I like.
Literally, the very first episode he appears in, I liked him because he was so kind and, yeah, concerned for the throne
So
of.
so pretty much for him, him and his
uh,
older sister Janai, who becomes the queen for people or yeah for
for Luxuria,
yeah
I believe is the kingdom that it's
that
called.
go based on sunlight. So he was angry of this whole thing of trying because we didn't break this down. So Janai fought Amaya, and Amaya, these two were like Goliaths, pretty much fighting Captain America against like just, I don't know, for Janai being like a Wakanda warrior. I'll just say I don't know.
Basically, yeah,
So anyway, they
basically.
had fought over like a certain terrain of board, and they went on like a 3 round boxing match pretty much. Um, but
It was an amazing 3 round fight.
but what's
I'm not
great,
even kidding.
what Amaya kind of taught Janai that made her love her in that of teaching her, I guess, humanity or just like seeing a different perspective.
Well,
I don't know.
I'd say maybe the better term would be compassion.
Compassion, yeah.
And in most cases, they've mentioned mercy.
So
Um,
by teaching that to her, in a way, it was like when I saw it, I'm like, well, you know what? Why not? Like, it's not like all I know you guys fought each other, but now you somehow you learn about her, and then you're like, and then you get together and we pretty much become queen. So anyway, but she
they
uses
also get married.
get married. She uses Maya of compassion and tries to live with her with the sunlight elves and the humans and try to live together. But of course, for them, their traditions the humans don't know much about, so there's all this dispute. But okay, but going back to what's my sword?
Prince Kareem,
Prince Kareem, he gets
backstabber.
mad. He gets mad at her of just this whole compassion. It's just feel like you're destroying. Da da da. So he wants to do some ritual combat, pretty much, to as a way of for power. And
I don't even remember what that ritual combat was called
well, you
because
kind
they
of
only do it one
it's kind of
time.
like remember think of like Black Panther when they came with
Yeah,
it's
with
that sort of
Killmonger,
with Killmonger, that
basically.
sort of style. But and she didn't want to. Well, she defeats him and exiles him. But here's where it gets very interesting.
She actually almost killed him, to be honest.
Yeah, but she takes the compassionate mercy and just exiles him and lets him think about his undoing. So he walks on the desert and he sees this figure and he's like running away. And I was like, when I first saw it, who could this be? And it's like, oh, it's some like it's some kind of elf. You know who it actually was?
It was I believe they said it was the high priest,
Well, it was the high priest, but you know who's
I think.
but he was manipulated by who? Erebos.
Erebos?
I
Yeah.
think that was actually Erebos who was walking and uses the body because
Oh.
in the Katala's kingdom getting destroyed, the dude that's on the dragon is the dude.
Yeah.
Him. It's actually Erebos because when the damage was done, this is the part I want to get. This is the interesting part. So he kills the person, but the person was actually Erebos, and Erebos tells him a secret that he didn't know about, and he apparently him being the king of the sun.
I think the dragon's name was Sol Regum.
Yeah, Saul Reagan. Unfortunately, there's some story or a secret he thought was actually a lie that apparently he actually killed the queen, his wife. And this was deep in the season. So in his punishment, he pretty much burned himself alive of the guilt. And that was that. But anyway, I just want
Yeah,
to
because Erebos tells him that he buried his own mate alive.
Yeah, that's what it was. And he's just like he didn't. It's just like this guy he's so like he just has a lot of arrogance and he's blind with so much hatred. But that's what's probably what he was maybe carrying, and now telling the truth is like, oh. Anyway, I just thought that's another kind of like interesting part to share. But yeah, but we can Prince Kareem.
Oh, speaking of Prince Kareem, the backstabbing piece of shit he is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He tries to make a deal with Erebos.
Oh yeah.
And well, that didn't work out too well because he ended up literally getting crushed in Erebos' hands. And you might be wondering, some of you who haven't watched it yet, how is that possible? Well, because Erebos' true form is literally a titan, and he's as big as a skyscraper.
He was bigger than the actual tower.
Yeah.
Itself, because in that time, that's what was like in human perspective eyes, that was actually the height. But back then, he was actually a small figure, I believe.
Well, no, he could change his size, and you see that happen because he literally turns his like regular form into a mountain or a small island in a sense, and then proceeds to still walk around with Claudia and her boyfriend at the time in human size and in a human disguise. Which, by the way, they tried pulling some Snow White bullshit on my boy Callum.
Let's do it. We're going to do a few more like highlights that like silly, stupid, like.
I thought that whole Snow White reference though was kind of funny. I will not get. I will give them credit for that. That was hilarious. Because it took me a moment to realize what they were like trying to do, and then when I saw the apple, I was like, "Wait a minute, is it this?" this has to be some Snow White reference, right? Because there's no other way that they just had Erebos turn into like some creepy old rugged man or whatever with a wooden staff or something, and then just randomly pull out an apple. There's no way. They pull out some cultural references in this
Definitely.
series. I'll just say that, okay? And they do it amazingly. It's awesome.
Let's go to Claudia real quick. And for
Oh,
her,
yeah.
it's like it's kind of like a love hate sort of character for me.
I
So
don't mean to make my reply to that sound so salty, but there are moments where you're just like you do kind of hate Claudia, and then there's other moments where you feel bad for her and even love her.
so
So I mean, it is a very much love hate
the one
relationship with
specific
Claudia.
scene is so with this so the spell that she resurrected her dad temporarily was about to expire, and they got all the stuff. So he was about to he was ready to lay rest. I don't know. It's something about the Starlight pretty much implodes or something like that. Something
No,
that, or
he goes to sleep that night after he leaves Claudia and Terrestrius. However, that morning
oh yeah, what I was just gonna
he
go with.
thinks,
Wait, I was just gonna go with just the whole he I just forgot what the spell what happens if it expires.
"Oh, I
I'm,
just think he would have died."
I think it's death. I thought something happened to his body because Erebos was
No,
explaining
no,
something.
they originally kept his body in, I guess you could say, good condition. Like they preserved his body to resurrect him the first time.
Okay, so
That was with the temporaries part of the
yeah,
spell.
he
But
just he sees the light. He understood the what about or what dark magic does, and realizing all his past sins and troubles, he had to.
this is the scene that really broke my heart with Claudia. This
So
was the moment that really was just
he
like,
just thought he's
okay,
gonna
I feel
die,
bad.
sleeps, and then apparently he wakes up. I was like, wait, I'm alive. He's
Yeah.
like, wait, he was ready to accept it, and
Yeah,
it
he
the long
also thinks in the moment when he woke up that Erebos lied to him,
yeah.
that it wasn't just a temporary spell and that it was permanent.
But
That wasn't the case.
when he goes, Claudia does the ritual, and apparently there's this little there's this little creature that's part of it. We'll break that down in our post.
Well, just to kind of sum that up real quick, basically this creature was, in a sense, I guess, the child of Varen and or Viren and Erebos. Don't ask me how. It's magic.
Magic.
Just
But Eric,
that's the
suppose on
best
Claudia.
explanation I can give.
So Claudia had to do she did the ritual, but she had to do stuff that she probably herself maybe didn't expect her capabilities would do. And she did the ritual, and as with the use of dark magic, it has like a defect where you pretty much your hair turns white or gray,
I
but her
think white.
eyes are white. Her eyes though are like completely dark because wherever this ritual was, they didn't want to show it because if you wanted, you probably could imagine looking what the effects what the terrain is of what she had to do. But anyway,
Well, you could basically see the corruption
the corruption was
from
fully
dark
into
magic.
Claudia.
Yeah, I
Like
mean you could see it.
she was relieved. I'm like, hey, she's like very weak right now. I was like, hey, you're back. See, she had. There's a lot of moments in the show you'll notice she has that soft
Oh,
tone voice.
speaking of a quick moment, um, Claudia also loses her left leg.
Yeah,
At first, I didn't even expect that until after they kind of showed that she was missing a leg.
You probably
And
know how that occurred.
it was because Rayla had cut off one of her tentacles. And before you guys say anything, yes, she had tentacles because she used a spell specifically to go into deep water and whatnot, and had the lower part of her body look like an octopus. And yeah, one of those got cut off, and turned out one of those was also her leg. So she was missing like half of her leg, like past her kneecap type, half of
She
her
was
leg.
able to do the ritual, but anyway, she's like, see, like, look, you're alive. Because she's thinking on this, like, me and you, like, kind of like me and you together, we can now, like, go back to the kingdom. But this is when Vera now, not being that mage we want to know, he sees the light. And he tried to tell Clyde that one day you hopefully will see this in time. And he steps away. But this, for Claudia, it's like, so her brothers,
Well,
we didn't talk much.
her
We didn't talk
just to
much.
kind of quick talk about the family is that their mother abandoned them or left them because of the fact that Viren did dark magic to save their son Soren, who was dying at the time. He succeeded at that. In doing so, the mother left. So they both kids kind of resented the mom for that. It also was said that Claudia, because she tells this to Callum in like season 1 or 2, and I think it was season 1, and she tells Callum that her mother told Claudia to stay with her brother and her father, and this broke Claudia's heart. And eventually, Soren also switched sides and went against both her and their father. And then eventually, now, after everything, her father then leaves her.
And,
So,
yeah.
Claudia, this is part of the moment or part of the character with Claudia that you get to really love in a sense because you feel the pain. You understand the pain. And it sucks because some of y'all probably even understand the pain on a more personal level, and you get that abandonment feeling, so you really get to understand Claudia's character as a whole for yourselves because you could relate to that pain. And I love this moment with Claudia because it's such a, I guess you could say, clear view of her character, because even though she's now on the darker path, you still get that moment of humanity still left in it. So I mean, it's a very heart
Like,
shattering kind of moment.
there's a heart
But
shattering scene because her quote was saying, like, I told you to stay away, like something in that words, to stay away, and then she just end up crying. But then
yeah,
she now, with everything abandonment, this, well, for any people that experience this, then it's like for her, she becomes like, all right. She tells her boyfriend, "Thank you, bye," in a way, and she just wants, like, fine, I'll have my own journey to begin then.
that
And
doesn't also take too long
yeah,
actually, because she does end up kind of going back to him.
and then she meets
Um,
Erebos, and then Erebos kind of becomes a father figure of, and so on. All right, before we conclude, there's one more scene that just kind of dropped like a life quote or something, and it like opened my mind a little bit. So fast forward, this is like season like I don't know 5 or 6. So they did an episode with just Callum and Rayla together, just doing a little journey because they realize about they go like they got the prison, but they switch it to make it like a giant candy, like candy, and they thought like well they thought with their actual prison give it to these certain elves that they're also Starlight, but
I think
Starlight.
that was like season 6 or 7.
So they start the little journey. They head over and they meet these people. And well, wait a minute. Just to sum this up a
I
bit
think
more.
the elves you're talking about are the celestial elves.
Yeah,
I think.
celestial elves. But what? But this is where this is like not really like part of the story, but it was just this like mind blown like opened eye moment. So so there's like there's like a grandpa or like the leader, and there's these two other characters that are like brother and sister, and the brother there's this thing like at a certain moment with the light where the stars are right, they can remove their blindfolds and see, and it's like you get all like not power, but you get so much wisdom in a way. Anyways, they not convinced, but like they accepted the offer of taking the thing, but when he looks into it through mind, it's not it. But he lies, saying like, "Oh yeah, we'll take it."
Oh, I know what quote you're
So,
talking about.
but fast forwarding, and with this ability, you can pretty much reverse time a little bit.
It's well, it's more of clairvoyance. So basically, it's him kind of getting like visions or a sense of like what happens in the future if they choose to go down a certain path.
And
Um, the quote, though, I think you're talking
yeah,
about is
so she later on she comes to him, and then he
well,
tells them out.
you also got to remember his sister was the one who told him.
No, this is what I just thought just
Yeah.
end on like a mind blown moment. So he tells her, oh, it's just a giant piece of candy. But then I don't know, then she says this quote, and I've seen this over
Well, no, she asks him why not tell the truth to them
or
then?
until the truth, and then he
And
says,
he replies with the quote that she tells him in the vision he had
but I just want to
back
go to the
to him.
part. I just want to go to the part before he tells her, but like she told him, because that's when it hit. Like because he was trying to figure out. I guess he didn't know much like about truth and lie, and I gotta find this quote. Do you know the quote she said?
Um,
What's the quote?
I think I kind of know maybe a vague bit of it.
And we'll be right back, real quick.
Yeah.
This character's name Astrid. So Astrid said, "Truth is everything, but before you give it to another, ask yourself: Are you giving them clarity, light, and purpose, or are you shifting a burden to someone who needs all their strength?"
Yeah. Oh, I gotta say though, that is a huge
And then I just get you
quote.
thinking because it opens your mind about when you tell a lie or tell the truth, you gotta make sure you think before you say. And anyway,
What Well, before we end it off here, I want to say that this is also is what's interesting is that they also have this moment with Viren because he written down a whole letter or whatnot to Soren, kind of confessing the truth, like the truth about why his mother left, about why his wife, their mother left, and whatnot. And he decides to keep the truth to himself, and he literally burns the letter. But that's what's so interesting is because they do that right after they have like um, that whole quote drop in the series.
Yeah. So anyway, thanks for watching. Or go on. Make sure to watch the series.